Hello. This webinar is about the pathology of Vata, the progression of Vata from the early stages to the later stages. And this is to help us to understand possibly our future health conditions that could result if we don't manage or pacify or lower our Vata in the early stages. Hopefully you know that you're a Vata type, and maybe you are aware that you're Vata's high or you're Vata dominant person. But what this webinar is to educate you about is at what stage your Vata development is in, and what tissue or system that it's moved to. So the first stage is just the accumulation of excess Vata, because Vata's home is in the colon. So accumulation of excess Vata starts with the quality of cold. We know that Vata's qualities are cold, dry, light, mobile, rough, and clear. So the first one that aggravates the Vata is too much cold. This would come from cold environment, cold food, and breeze, too much cold air, air conditioners, but not being warm enough at night. But this cold colon then leads to kind of a general dryness, but more evident is a little gas, a little bloating, and maybe bowel movements are not as regular, and a little restlessness. So this cold is an early sign, the first stage of accumulation of Vata in the colon. Then next, the Vata in the colon becomes a little aggravated by the second two qualities of dryness and lightness entering the situation. So you may be having too much dry food, dried fruit, you're in winter time, it's dry air, or you have a heater on, you're further drying your body out, you're not drinking enough liquid, so the body becomes too dry, and the colon becomes dry. Maybe you're skipping meals, this creates lightness. So this extra dry and lightness, along with the cold, further aggravates Vata in your colon, and you get more abdominal discomfort, gurgling, maybe even pain, and maybe at this point you could say you have constipation, and if it's aggravated to a greater degree, this would lead to hemorrhoids. The next stage, the third stage of the Vata pathology, is the spreading stage, where the Vata then spreads out of the colon and starts to touch upon reaching other tissues and systems in the body. So signs of this could be a racing heart, stiffness in the muscles, cracking in the joints, tension, headaches, a little hyperactive, restless sleep, a dry cough, and more cold hands and feet and ringing ears. So how to pacify this in the early stage is a real question. To pacify Vata in the first stage, or we could say the antidote for that coldness in the colon, is a hot water bottle, hot warm castor oil packs, and warming the body. For the second stage would be enema, herbs with warm oil, and also a Vata pacifying diet with warm foods, well-cooked foods. And in the third stage would be oil massage, warm oil massage with steam, less oil enemas, plus the Vata pacifying diet. Now, the fourth stage is where it gets a little advanced, because now the Vata is spreading, and now it can go into different systems and tissues in the body. So there's 7 different tissues in Ayurveda, and also many different systems, but the 7 tissues that it could go in would be the lymphatic system, or the blood and liver system, muscle system, fat tissue, bone system, or nervous system, or the reproductive system. So when it goes into your lymphatic system, then you get chronic dry skin or acne and dizziness. You can even get the chills, become hypersensitive, and you start to become fatigued in the afternoon. So this is a state of dehydration in your tissue that's all over your body, evident by your very dry tissue on your hands that no longer has elasticity to it. So the remedy here, besides the Vata pacifying diet and the other treatments I mentioned earlier about the oil enemas, the oil massage, would be to hydrate the body, and this can be done through sipping hot liquids all through the day, sipping boiled water or tea throughout the day, and also maybe initially having 1 teaspoon of salt with about 5 teaspoons of cane sugar and a pint of water with a little lemon, and drinking that down to hydrate the body, and this could pacify the dosha in your tissue, which has become dehydrated. So at least you've reduced down the Vata in that area. Then it would be the diet and the other treatments to continue to reduce it. Now, if Vata gets into your liver or your blood, then it's going to restrict your circulation, because Vata, you have to remember, is catabolic. It's restrictive. It's drying up. So, then you're going to have very cold hands and feet, cold fingertips. The circulation is going to be very poor, very cold feet. You may be craving meat. You may have cracks on your elbows, cracks on your heels. You may have more heart palpitations, and you may be even craving spicy foods. And of course, another sign is varicose veins without clotting, because that would be more of a kapha tissue if you had clotting. But varicose veins, cold hands and feet, if you're Vata, then you know you have Vata in your blood and liver system. And the antidote there is, of course, to warm the body up, improve the circulation. And this would take, circulatory herbs, meaning heart herbs like hawthorn leaf, ginkgo, gota cola will help to improve circulation. A ginger and baking soda bath will help circulation and warm the body. But also having bone-building foods and herbs, bone-building foods, of course, animal products and meat, or you could at least have the bone broth of chicken. And if you're a vegetarian, then you want to have bone-building foods like carrot juice, beet juice, algae, spirulina, chlorella, spinach. And to help improve circulation and keep the blood thin, you'd want to have garlic, onions, turmeric, ginger, and things to help the blood, and more oil in the diet. This would help pacify your Vata in the blood. Next, Vata can reach the muscles. We often don't think about our muscles as being a tissue, but in Ayurveda it's very important, a tissue. And if you have cramping in the muscles, or receding gums, twitches in the muscles, sunken eyes, you may be craving meat, you may be craving protein. And the real signs of this are the wasting of the muscles. This is, again, that catabolic effect. In a later stage, you can have a muscle pain or paralysis or restless leg syndrome. So this is very serious muscles in Vata in the muscles. And the treatment, besides the ones I mentioned earlier, we would want to have muscle-building herbal formulas, muscle-building foods like nuts, cashews, almonds, almond milk, and more protein, of course. And this would build the muscles and reduce down these symptoms, which would mean you won't have Vata in your muscles. Now, most Vatas do have what we call Vata in the fat tissue, the next tissue that I'm talking about, and that basically means you don't have enough fat. This means your symptoms could be you're craving fat, low urination, no sweating. These would be signs of low fat. Of course, we can just measure our fat level, and we can see if we have less than 5% body fat, then we have too little fat. And Ayurveda advocates having sufficient fat, not just for health reasons, but because it helps to balance the body. When we're too light, which is a Vata quality, we don't sleep very well, and it contributes to anxiety and nervousness. And when we're have an infection or sick, it's very difficult to fast. And when you're sick, if you don't have enough body fat, so it's important to have fat. So when you have Vata in your fat tissue, you basically don't have enough body fat. This can also be seen in dry, hard feces. The cures are generally herbal and done in ghees, oil enemas, deep oil massage, and of course increasing your fat intake. So this is a type of fatty acid deficiency, but more than that, it's the actual low body fat in the body. It's kind of a catabolic state. The next stage is really maybe the most important, not stage, we're still in the fourth stage of the development, but the next tissue that's probably the most important for many Vatas is the bones. And when we have Vata entering the bones, this often symptoms are mineral deficiencies, hair loss, but cracking nails, cracking brittle nails are a sure sign that we have poor, weak bones. Of course, in the later stages, this becomes osteopenia, then can develop into osteoarthritis. And rheumatoid arthritis is in the same category, Vata in the bones. So in the West, of course, we have different names. We have just arthritis, but in Ayurveda, we have Pitta in the bones, Vata in the bones, Kapha in the bones. But this is, we're talking about Vata in the bones, too much air, too much lightness, not enough strength, and the bones start to degenerate. And so this is very important. Of course, this is very common with Vata vegetarians and Vata vegans, and they need to have more butter, more milk, and even the herbs to treat this condition are all given either in milk or butter. So more dairy is encouraged, and other calcium supplements, whether it's coral ash or eggshells or natural calcium supplements, and D, like cod liver oil. But basically it's, to rebuild the bones and strengthen the bones, and, having foods like sesame seeds and other high calcium foods and bone building foods to strengthen the bones, because Vata in the bones is a very serious condition. And in the early stages it may look minor, but in the later stages this becomes osteoarthritis. And that's how an Ayurvedic practitioner can predict this coming in a person in 5 or 10 years by seeing these signs and say maybe in 5 or 10 years you're going to have a joint pain. So the next area, probably the area that Vata enters in more than anywhere else, is in the nervous system. Early signs are tingling, numbness, muscle spasms, poor memory, forgetfulness, and then it develops into poor coordination. And always there's anxiety and nervousness. This is and fear. These are common Vata imbalances, but these are Vata in the nervous system specifically. So if you have this anxiety, nervousness, tingling of the muscles, poor memory, and you're a Vata person already, then your Vata has already spread from your colon and gone into your nervous system. You have Vata in the nerves, and this would determine which herbs you take to address where your Vata imbalance is. But at the later stages of Vata in the nerves is very serious. ADHD, attention deficit problems, even Parkinson's, multiple sclerosis, and dementia issues, including Alzheimer's, are all considered Vata in the nervous system. Even nerve pain like sciatica is also in the same category of Vata in the nervous system. So a very serious area. To reach the nervous system, generally herbal teas are used because this can reach the nervous system very quick, and herbal medicated oils that can absorb through the skin and reach the nervous system. And Shirandara, where therapeutic oils are poured on the head, and all the herbs are given in ghee to treat this Vata in the nerves. Now, of course, there's also Vata in the reproductive system. For the male, this can result in premature ejaculation, low sperm count, and other imbalances, which are generally dealt with herbs. For the woman in the reproductive system, this can create infertility, vaginal dryness, irregular menstruation, and premature orgasms and other reproductive problems. So Vata in the reproductive system is very unhealthy, and definitely it doesn't create the right environment to be fertile and to bear children. So would want to be addressed with your diet, treatments, and such. And then the 5th and 6th stages of Vata are basically when the illness itself starts to manifest. At that point, the doctor can give it a label: hemorrhoids, chronic constipation, MS, Parkinson's, Alzheimer's. At that point, it's manifest itself into a condition. So the first 4 stages are unseen really by the medical profession. They're considered subclinical, but they're indications for Ayurveda. Ayurveda is very preventive science. It wants to balance out the Vata in the early stages, and by the time it reaches the 5th and 6th stage, you have a more serious condition. Particularly by the 6th stage becomes the most difficult to treat. So I hope that motivated you to balance your Vata out in the early stages by following the Vata diet, Vata lifestyle guidelines, and taking herbs to help to improve your sleep, improve your digestion, improve your elimination, so this Vata doesn't progress to the chronic stages. So I hope that helped you very much. Feel free to contact me if you like more information. Thank you very much.